Hey, it's UPB OptionMillionaires.com. Good morning. It's August 29th, Thursday. Market has one more day left after today, and then we go that long Labor Day weekend. We start up in September. Volume should come back into the market. It's going to be a great move in September and the rest of the year. I think we're going to close the year at all-time highs or pretty close to it. So this pullback, I wrote about it at the blog at OptionMillionaires.com. I think it's a viable pullback. Go through the names, right? We have the European debt zone crisis. We've had the debt downgrade. We've had the fiscal cliff earlier this year. Stocks rallied, significantly after that. We have the sequester. We had Cyprus. Who cares about Cyprus, right? I mean, Cyprus was this big, colossal, oh my goodness, we're going to fall to zero. And then Cyprus, I mean, that island might have sunk. I've got no idea. It's like nobody cares about Cyprus anymore. So we're going to same thing with Syria. Every named kind of pullback since the lows in 2008 and 2009. It's been a buying opportunity. Which, talking about buying, let's go to Tesla Motors. Look at the stock. Continues to move higher. Even yesterday was up, pulled back a little over 1/3%. Oh my goodness, the bears are winning the battle. Look at this chart. Why would you want to short the stock here? I guess you're expecting maybe a pullback like we saw when Goldman Sachs talked negatively about the stock, but for the most part, it's bullish. The trend is your friend. I could write a book on the trend. When something goes up, it's like it's like physics. You know, an object in motion will remain in motion. Well, that's what we have. We have significant motion to the upside, and there's really nothing standing in the way of it. When we start to see it slow down and pull back, why gosh, yeah, it'll be a great time to maybe get short, buy some puts. But for now, it's up. Why would you short? Why would you put yourself in harm's way until you get some sort of definitive pattern that tells you this stock is topped? It hasn't topped yet. I think it'll top much higher than it is right now, and I think it's going to head over $200 in the next couple weeks. Pretty crazy, right? Massive short position in this stock. Tesla, the start of the rally really down here, the short position was about 30 million shares. It's at about 20 million now. So 20 million shares are still short. And seemingly you go to StockTwits or you go to Twitter, seemingly everybody's shorting the stock. So I'd imagine it's more than that right now. As the price gets higher, people become more skeptical of this rally, which to me makes it even more likely that we're going to head higher. If that makes any sense to you. Let's go to TLT. Bonds are clearly interesting here. We're heading into September. Federal Reserve is going to meet in September, and the much-awaited taper release from the Federal Reserve talking about how they're going to taper their asset purchases. Brought this up, many years now at OptionMillionaires.com talking about how the Federal Reserve and quantitative easing, back when they started it back in March of 2009, first in December 2008, talked about zero interest rate policy. We haven't seen it. Back then, remember, they're like, well, we're going to put interest rates to zero. We're going to raise them in a couple of years. Okay, a couple of years was 2010. Where are we now? 2013. Seemingly every year, every month that goes by, that date when interest rates are going to start to rise keeps getting kicked down the road. Just like the Europeans have been kicking down the road with Greece, Spain, and Portugal. Same thing's happening with the Federal Reserve. The can gets kicked. So that's why it's going to be interesting. We have the taper talk coming up. But basically what I've been saying all these years is that the taper talk, all right, we're going to reduce. The Federal Reserve is going to reduce their asset purchases by $10 billion. Back in 2008 and 2009, when they instituted quantitative easing, they were talking about actually selling all the assets that they were purchasing back into the market. Well, they're not even doing that. They're just reducing the amount of fake money that they're using to try and inflate the economy. And to me, stocks are still the place to be. And bonds are not. Look from the long-term chart. We've obviously topped out. We're pulling back here, but I think the spike up we saw in the middle of 2011 is going to get negated, and we're going to see a fall back down to 90, which would coincide with the initial real big candles here to the upside, and then ultimately move down to about 80 and then 78.50. It's going to be a great out-of-the-money put trade. I like it. Let's go to oil, because for the Middle East, the strife over there with Syria, we've seen a spike up. I brought this up at the blog at OptionMillionaires.com on Monday, talking about a spike in oil. It's worked out perfectly out of this bullish pennant pattern. And we pulled back late in the day yesterday, and then we're pulling back here overnight and then a couple hours here before the open. So that trade worked out nicely. Those call options, the 39 options that were out a couple weeks for the USO fund, up to 300% depending on when you bought and when you sold. So nice trade. I think ultimately though we're gonna get a pullback, but I think there's a good chance we're gonna come up to this dotted line here. See this dotted line at about 42.50 level before we ultimately pull back, and then over the long term, maybe the span of 6 to 9 months, pull back to this $30 to $28 range. How about Apple? Everybody's talking about Apple. The stock plummeted 2 days ago, and with the rest of the market, to me, still consolidating. Great bottoming pattern that we're working out of. So a pullback's certainly not out of the question, but I think ultimately it's going to get that move up to 600, and then by the end of the year, call me crazy, be over 700 bucks. Google has been a tough nut to crack, but I love support here. I was waiting yesterday. 845 is really the price I like the stock to bounce off of. This is long-term support, form of resistance. We come down to there, it's going to be a great buying opportunity. And you can look, it's oversold here. The last time it was oversold, it rose about $25. I'm looking for a move back up, and I think ultimately by the end of this year, it's going to be over 1,000 bucks. Call me crazy. And then Netflix. Netflix is almost at all-time highs, folks. Pretty crazy. Remember down here when we were at 50 bucks and Jimmy Bob at optionmillionaires.com was saying it was a stock to buy. Nobody else believed him. Well, that was until Carl Icahn hopped on the money train, and it's been blue skies ever since. Look at Netflix, a tremendous move. Remember this earnings trade at optionmillionaires.com? Jimmy Bob got the $125 calls for like 12 cents, and they went to 40-something dollars. Pretty crazy. That's why we trade stock options. So Netflix, obviously, I don't think we're going to see a 20% spike. Those days are done for Netflix. But if you look from the long-term chart, good chance we're going to at least double top, maybe put in a nice cup and handle, and continue higher. That'd be pretty crazy. And finally, Amazon's been having a tough run of it since hitting all-time highs. Pulling a little closer here. At some point, this stock's going to recover. We have long-term support here about 267. Or we're going to keep melting lower to that price and then head higher. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think for now, stay away and watch it from a distance. But it's going to make a great entry when the time comes to get in for calls. All right, UPB here from optionmillionaires.com. So we have today, tomorrow, be the last day before the long Labor Day weekend. Everyone have a great Labor Day weekend. We'll have September come in. Volume's going to start picking up after the bell today. We have CRM reporting earnings. Salesforce.com has already done a 10 for 1. What was the split? It wasn't 10 for 1. It was 2 for 1. Anyway, you can look at the chart for Salesforce.com. It's been channeling since the middle of 2010 and looks to me it's just about at support. So I'd look for higher prices for CRM heading into earnings and tomorrow. All right, it's UPB here from optionmillionaires.com. So let's see what happens with Tesla. Again, the chart. I mean, this looks, I don't know, fairly bullish to me, right? It's up. The trend is up. Why would you stand in front of this 100-ton locomotive? Could go over 200 bucks easily. And if it does, just imagine all those 20-plus million shares that are short that are going to need to cover. Obviously, when you short a stock, your losses are unlimited. All right, UPB. Everyone, have a great trading day. See you in the chat room at optionmillionaires.com. Goodbye.